everyone's phone's off or silent?
Ish. Yeah.
Silent.
All right. Hello, ladies. Welcome to the Right Room. How are you?
So great.
Doing well.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited for this. We are going to talk a little bit about Next Chapter, but just getting us all here this morning, we have to say was an adventure. Yeah.
To say the least.
Right. 2 sick children.
Yeah.
A daughter came with us, a 2-year-old, or came with Alicia, the 2-year-old. The nanny picked her up. We had someone pick up baguettes. I mean, it's just really a testament to women in community and how we all pull together and get stuff done.
Yes.
Right.
We're here.
We're here. All right. Starting with Alicia, give us a little bit of background, who you are, what you do. Give us your jam.
Oh my gosh, where do I start? I am a wife, a mother of 5, a wellness entrepreneur, a former competitive athlete, a published author, a real estate investor, a soon-to-be angel investor. I do all the things. I love health and wellness. I love to eat. I love to travel. If you have a problem, I could probably figure out how to solve it really quickly.
I love that. An all around just get shit done girl.
Yeah.
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 And did you mention 5 kids?
I did. 5 humans.
I always drop that. I'm like, and 5 kids, because sometimes with one, I'm like, I can't get out the door on time. And then I think of you, or I'm cooking dinner for 4 people. And I'm like, Alicia's making it for 8.
And it looks so good.
Yeah.
Last night was a good dinner. It was a good dinner.
What'd you make?
Oh my gosh, we had steak, we had filet, we had caviar, we had mashed potatoes.
Call me next time.
We had
Add 3 more.
penne pasta. Like we had a whole smorgasbord, and it was so much fun, and everybody had such a good time eating, and it was all 8 of us together, which rarely happens because Ava plays volleyball and Michaela has activities. And so when we can get together, I make sure to make it a really good meal.
Add 3 more plates next time.
Got it.
Because we're on our way. Anina, tell us a little bit about you.
So I am Canadian American. I've been here in the DC area for almost 10 years now. I have a French food blog called Le Chef's Wife. My husband is a French chef that I met in the south of France when I was there as an exchange student. We've been together for almost 20 years. I have 2 beautiful children, Valentina and Pierre. And I also run a PR and marketing firm, Savoir Faire, in addition to Next Chapter with these incredible women. And I love food and wine. I have a diploma in wine, and any destination where there's incredible food and wine, I would love to travel to.
Amazing. Lindsay.
Do I have to follow these?
I know. Right? Here.
No, but I love it because being around you guys is constantly inspiring because they're so accomplished and fabulous. So, but I guess I would lead with I'm a mom of 3 little kids because that's sort of the life I've chosen after being a fundraiser for almost 15 years with my husband who had a charity. When the COVID hit, I decided to go home and be the mom, to stay-at-home mom to 3 little kids, ages 8, 5, and just turned 3, and so cute and so adorable. But I was only home for a couple weeks, really, truly, when I decided that not only did I not just want to be home, but I wanted to help people who I was seeing was suffering during the pandemic. And so I founded a nonprofit myself, a 501c3 called the Napkin Network. And our tagline is Moms Helping Moms in Need. And over the past 5 years, it's really evolved, but the core mission is providing basic baby essentials to moms in need because it's very hard and it's very expensive to be a mom. And if we can all sort of do our part to help make that journey a little bit easier with no judgment, that's my goal and my mission. So it's called the Napkin Network, and we're starting our 5th year. So between raising the little kids and growing my charity, that's where my priorities lie right now. And of course, now doing Next Chapter to bring all that full circle and grow it with you guys has been just like the opportunity of a lifetime.
And I think that's really important to note. Like we all have different backgrounds. We all have different jobs. We all have different children. We all have different relationships. I mean, we've talked about our differences in alcohol, from having being a sommelier to not drinking, to drinking on occasion. Like we all have different experiences. And I think, that's what really brought us together. And a little background here on the Next Chapter, for those of you that are listening, and maybe this is the first time you've heard of us, is that the 4 of us used to have lunch together, I don't know, once a quarter. And we'd kind of come and we would talk about what was going on in our life, and we would share wins and we'd share challenges. And we'd really come away from these lunches feeling truly inspired. And so I think it was Alicia and Anina were at a lunch, and they came to me and Lindsay and said, we have an idea. What if? And I mean, I have to say, my weaknesses are complemented by your strengths. And I think we can all kind of say that. And we're about to host our second luncheon and we're really excited. And so we're going to talk about our transition because, that's not only what this podcast talks about, sharing these stories of women in transition, but also our lunches are really to empower women into stepping into their next chapter. So this first question goes to Linz.
Great. Bring it on. Ready.
So Next Chapter is about stepping into the new chapter.
Right.
Lindsay, you've had to pivot and reinvent yourself throughout your career, as you just shared with us. What is a time when you had to fully embrace change, and what did it teach you?
Okay, so actually my very first job out of college was at National Geographic. I think you guys know that, but I'm not even sure if you guys even know that. But I thought I wanted to do sort of TV production route. And even just setting up for this podcast today, it was such a reminder of why that wasn't for me, right? It just was not my skill set. It wasn't my interest. I wasn't feeling very motivated by that. So I went to a small nonprofit. And then, like I mentioned, my husband had a nonprofit. So for 15 years, starting in almost 2008, we started Luke's Wings, which is a military charity. And we grew that organization to $2 million organization, a staff of 7 at the height of it, major companies involved, just really hitting our stride. And then COVID, right? And there's nothing we can do about all that except just embrace sort of what is maybe a bad situation across the board. Like on paper, COVID was a bad situation. I think we all agree to that. But how do I make the best out of it? So I remember just sitting there, going into the office, trying to figure out how am I going to do this? I have two little kids at the time. I can't manage COVID and this organization. So I quit. I mean, it was just so against my nature because I had grown it from not nothing, but truly nothing, beginning stages into really what was something that was just hitting its stride. And to say like, I can't do this anymore, not only with my time and the safety and the health of my children, but the mission was providing free airfare, which was travel. No one was traveling during that time. So like I said, I went home. I was home for about maybe 2 months. And I decided that I was going to make a really bad situation because I felt very, very lost at that time. That was my identity. That's how I spent nearly 15 years every day. What am I going to do next? So watching the news, seeing how many moms were struggling, knowing that 2020 was a bad year, I was like, let's make 2021 just a little bit better. Maybe not fantastic, but like a little bit better, right? So if you just take those baby steps to really embrace something that's bad or negative, and how can I make this the best for my family, for my community? You just never know what these amazing things might come from, So I started the organization and now I have a whole new purpose in life.
What is that purpose?
2 things. One is to have my own identity, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. And I never want something to be taken away from me, whether it's a global pandemic, another person, finances, whatever the thing is, I want to be in control of something. And I never had that before. And I know that's very hard to do, but I was like, at the very least, it's something that I started. If I fail at it, then that was my fault. If I succeed at it, even better, that was my fault. So I wanted to do that. And I wanted to show my children that, that we can do something on our own. And then a bigger purpose is to make motherhood just a little bit easier, right? It's expensive, as I mentioned. It's challenging. A lot of times it's isolating. Not everyone has a great core network like we do. And so I wanted to create a community of moms to give back, that you're not alone. When you're awake in the middle of the night, you're thinking, I can't do this. You can. And if I can't afford this, you can, So I think I've made life a little bit easier, even just for one mom, then I've succeeded.
100%. I think that's so powerful. You found a need, and not only a need to fill, but a need to serve and kind of give back, which is just, it's so beautiful, right? In that transition. Anina, coming from luxury hospitality and now being an entrepreneur, you know what it means to shift gears. What was the hardest part of stepping into a new space, and how did you find confidence in it?
The hardest part, and honestly, I almost feel a little weird saying it, but was breaking up with the business card. And that's what kept me from going out on my own for the longest time, because I was so used to being Anina Belle of, and insert luxury hotel brand A, B, and C. And I was so used to that reaction when I would say, hi, I'm Anina Belle of the, and people would be like, oh, yes, I want to talk to you. There was that immediate reaction. Introducing myself as Anina Belle, the French food blogger, didn't have that same reaction. And I almost wanted to correct people and be like, but I also do this, and I've also done all these other things. And realizing that I was enough was a big piece, that I didn't have to be part of another brand name organization, that I could just be myself. And that was really liberating, actually. And probably the thing that I struggled with the most, in becoming an entrepreneur.
It's kind of what Lindsay was just saying, right? Like, if I succeed, it's on me. If I fail, it's on me, right? And kind of that sounds like you came to that realization of that I am enough. Like, I don't need the, XYZ behind it, and kind of standing up and saying, I'm going to take this on and just walk through it with bravery and
also realizing that you're much more secure when you're diversified versus like I felt more secure in my full-time job in a 20-year career, and that I couldn't leave my full-time job because then I would not be as secure financially. And that sounds really scary, but you're actually more secure when you've diversified your income streams. And I'm a blogger, and I'm running other businesses on the side, and we're doing so many ventures, and I've built a PR firm from scratch with my long-term mentee. And so all of a sudden I feel much more secure than I ever did in my full-time job, with all the benefits and all the incredible perks.
It's scary to take that first leap. That first
So
step.
scary.
Yeah, I think we can all
So
agree to
scary.
that.
And it took me forever to actually get there. I was probably sitting on it for a good 4 years.
But you're here.
I'm here.
Alicia, you have built an entire platform around strength, both physically and mentally. When you think about reinvention, what role does resilience play in actually making it through the messy middle of change?
Good question.
I had a very traumatic childhood. My father, he was a 27-year Marine Corps vet. He suffered with post-traumatic. I know. Can you tell where my mind is?
This story just went in a whole new direction.
He suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, alcoholism from the war, stemming from his time in Vietnam. And when I was 12 or 13, we had a really, really traumatic experience that involved multiple cop cars, and involved him being taken away in an ambulance to Fort Belvoir and medically committed to the psychiatric ward. I was barricaded in a bedroom for hours that did not end until it basically was a standoff between my father and the cops. So from experiences like that, my brother, after that, he moved away and he basically disassociated himself from the family. He eventually passed away in 2012. And all this is to say that I have had some really, really traumatic experiences, and that anything that happens, whether it's in business or whether it's in finance, I'm like, okay, well, at least it's not as bad as that. So all of those awful, awful experiences has made me incredibly resilient. It takes a lot to rattle me. It takes a lot to get under my skin. So I really think that I appreciate all of the negative and the bad things that have happened in my life, because it makes me that much more grateful for all the good. And as successful as my husband and I are, I sometimes find myself pulling away from it, because it's like, well, why do I deserve this? But then I think back and I'm like, fuck yeah, I deserve this. Because I'm like, I had a shitty first 17 years of my life. Like, let's make the next 20 pretty damn good. So,
yeah. I mean, that takes a lot of resilience, especially at a young age, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we could deep dive into that right now.
And I know you want to.
I so do. And I so do, because it's, and that's the thing, right? Like, you never know when looking at someone on the outside, you never know what they've been through, right? What their life looks like before, what's going on the inside. And so thank you for sharing that so vulnerably and openly. And it sounds like that was really a big part of resilience, because I don't know. So for those of you listening, not watching this, it's like all of us are just kind of looking at Alicia, like, and I want to like get up and hug you, because I can just feel that. Like, I mean, we're all moms, and that's a lot. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and thank you for sharing that. Now we're jumping into uncertainty, leading with Anina. So often women hesitate to make a change because of fear, right? So it's fear of failure, fear of judgment. What is one moment in your journey where you feel fear has almost stopped you, and what helped you move forward anyway?
I almost didn't quit my job.
The one that you talked about, the business card, breaking up the business card.
Yeah, I almost didn't quit my job, because it was the job that everyone said you're so lucky to have, and everyone would want that job. And what are you going to do when you no longer have this role where I could do some really cool things, and I had a great impact in the community, and I enjoyed what I did. I almost didn't fully throw myself. And it was incredible. I actually was offered a promotion 3 months before I quit. And it was at that moment where they were offering me some wonderful opportunity that I should absolutely jump at. And I knew that I didn't want it. And that for me was the step.
How did you know you didn't want it?
Because I could see how my life would play out if I took that role. It would pull me away from my family and everything that I'd been doing on the side as, you know, working at my blog for 5 years and like diligently just chipping away. It felt like a turning point where I could either go all in on what I'd been building on the side quietly or continue the corporate path that I was on and that I wanted to succeed in for years. That's what I dreamt of. And they were offering it to me and I knew that it was not for me.
So what I hear, which I love, right? And so, because that was in the luxury hospitality space, right? So for anyone that doesn't know kind of the background, it's a pretty prestigious brand, right? And so what I'm hearing you say is that instead of that safety, right? Because that would have been really safe, right? To take that, you bet on you. You decided to put all your cards in, go to the, you know, lean towards the blog, lean towards working, you know, with your husband, lean towards that family time because that was what was important to you. And that's kind of what Lindsay was saying too, like bet on you. And that's kind of a theme that I'm hearing here.
I love that. Bet on you.
Bet on you.
Bet on you. Who else are you going to bet on?
Lindsay, you are known for turning vision into reality.
Fine.
You are now. Yes. That's how
Hillary
I
says that
think
it
of
must
you.
be true.
What is your approach to making a bold move, even when the path isn't totally clear?
Well, when Anina was just talking, it sounds so familiar. And not to go back to like old jobs, but I had the exact same track, working for a very well-known TV channel, a job that quote unquote everybody would want, quote unquote the dream job, right? And your decision for that was family time and how you envisioned your future. Mine was sort of excitement. There was none, right? I mean, I was traveling amazing places and I was dreading it. I was getting promotions, dreading it. So I knew that just wasn't the right field in general. So the first step to a bold move is kind of just identifying how do you feel about whatever's happening to you. If it's not exciting, if it's not happy, right? If it's just more negative than positive, then you know. But then what? That's the easy part. Then what? So for me, I left that field totally and went to the nonprofit field. Again, working in a team, having all the resources, safe, right? Health insurance and funding and all those things. To really decide to go out on your own, that's when it gets scary and you really have to be bold because again, sorry to keep repeating you, but who are you going to bet on except yourself? If you're not going to make that change, then who is? If you're not going to help these people, then who are? And so that's all I knew. Like I could do it. I knew I had the skill set. I knew I had the passion. I knew I had the excitement. Finally, I didn't have the money. I didn't have the funding. Didn't even really have the support because I had 2 little children. Like, how am I going to do this? But just starting one day at a time, right? One email at a time, one ask at a time, one networking opportunity at a time. Make one thing on Canva today, tomorrow send this. So just starting small, I think, is really the best step. If you look too far ahead, anyone's going to be scared. It's scary. But if you just kind of put one foot in front of the other, it's not so scary. It's very manageable. And I think it's just easier to know what you don't want to do than maybe what you do want to do. So just start there. What don't I want to do? How don't I want to feel? Right?
But
and
also,
and then we go from there.
do it scared.
It's okay to be scared.
It's okay to be scared.
Of course.
Like, fucking terrified half the time. I mean, shit. Like I could go outside and get into a car accident and leave all my 5 children, but do it scared.
Do it scared. Like it's the safety of like, right? Like the safe thing is not always the best thing. It's not the best thing because then there's no excitement. It's like the monotony, right? And everybody here has stepped out into that space of fear, right? And taken the leap. And
I think there's something to say here too, is that often you think that you need to have a year's worth of salary saved up before you make a leap and make a jump. That was absolutely not my case. Okay. Absolutely not my case. There was not a year's worth of salary and savings that I could just like chill with. Absolutely not. But because I started like building up other sources of revenue through the blog was the number one, and then starting to get contracts for PR and marketing, that allowed me to say, okay, I may not have everything that I had before when I was working at this time, but probably over time, it could continue to grow. And so you don't need to have the full safety net before you jump. Sometimes
I think it's impossible to have the whole thing prepared and ready to go. Of course not. And things evolve in real time. Even just working with the four of us, it's been so interesting to say, like, I thought it was going to go this way, but it went that way because someone had a better idea. Like it's impossible to really plan ahead that far, and know what you're doing. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you said something at one of our lunches, Alicia, that was like, just shake it up. Like, shake shit up, see where the dust settles, and then go from there, right? Because like, if you're just, I'm going to take this part, if it's all nice and neat, you really kind of just need to like shake shit up.
Yep.
A friend of mine said, when I went through a tough and big transition 3 years ago, she said to me too, and she's like, your friends are your safety net too, and they'll never let you fail. Right. Cause I, remember stepping out and being like, I don't know how this is going to work. And she's like, we got you. Right. And I think that's also fair to say in with females and here, like if we don't understand, someone else will pick up that part of it. Yes. And that is like such the powerful, beautiful thing about female relationships and friendships, I think, is that everybody has your back. Like if it doesn't,
yeah, like your we doesn't have to be a spouse, right? Your
yes.
we can be your friends. Your us can be
100%.
your friends. Your us can be your neighbors. It doesn't have to be any sort of romantic partner. Just look around to your children,
Alicia, your book, Balance is Bullshit, challenges the idea of doing it all perfectly. It's going back to the shake shit up. What's one piece of advice you'd give a woman struggling with perfectionism as she steps into her next chapter?
Oh my gosh. Done is better than perfect.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Just get it done.
You have said that, and I hear that in my head sometimes when I'm teetering it like over something. I hear Alicia saying like, "Done is better than perfect." I'm like, okay, send.
Yeah, that's my that's at the core of everything I do, because you could sit there and try to make everything beautiful and aesthetic and perfect and just flow so well, and then you will never, ever, ever send it out because it will never be just right. There is no perfect time to have a baby. There's no perfect time to start a business. There's no perfect time to do anything. So just fucking do it. Or
you have a bleep on this?
I know. I was thinking, like,
sorry.
It's all good. We're adults. We don't have kids here, right? I mean,
and that's the one thing that I have spent the last probably almost 2 years pounding into the eldest McKenzie kid, because she is now 18 and she is such a perfectionist because she's so artistic and creative. And if it's not just perfect, she won't send it out. I'm like, baby, you don't need an A+. A B- is just as good because it's done and on time. Just like, I know, Mom, but and like, nope, stop what you're doing. Put the pencil down and just go turn it in. And she does. And she's got a 3.6 GPA this year because she's finally learning that it just has to be done. It doesn't have to be perfect.
it's a firstborn thing.
It is.
I'm gonna it's a firstborn thing.
So when it comes to your life, if your kid is sitting there on the iPad while you're making a nutritious meal, great. If you have a call and you have to bribe your child with gummy bears, okay, they're gonna live. Make sure they're dye-free. I'm sorry.
You're right. I remember on one of our calls, I was like, I feel so bad. Alexander's on the iPad. And like, who cares? Right. Like, if it's not perfect, it's okay. But we have these ideas, I think, as women, that it has to look a certain way, or it has to be a certain way, or if it's not done the way someone else has done it, then it's not successful. And where does that come from?
I think it comes from the narrative that other influencers are passing off as reality.
Yes.
Right. And I think you see all over social media, you see the Pinterest moms, and you see the homemade sourdough moms, and you see the crunchy moms, and everybody looks like they've got it so put together. Bitch, you are full of shit. You live in Reston and your kids are running around kicking each other off screen. Right. It's like, stop lying.
Yeah. Someone recently did that. They said, this house is the same as this. The house that you see, I'm not an influencer, I'm a content creator. And they showed her house from, and it was this beautiful like farm and like, and then she goes, but it's also this. And she showed her dishes stacked up in the sink and like, the toilet seat up and toilet paper all over not dirty, but just, it was a house. It was a lived in house. And it's like, this is how we live, but we just show you this.
And I think that's one thing that you really need to start putting forward on social media is that, okay, if you are a content creator, you're creating content. It is fake.
Aspirational.
It is not reality.
Real,
The reality is the way I left my house when I went to jump rope for heart today. There was shit everywhere. I had to lock my dogs in the bathroom because I didn't want them eating stuff off the countertop. I'm like dragging Maya out of the house without a shoe because she didn't want to get ready. Like the reality is messy, and that's life.
Yeah, it's funny. I almost text you guys because we're recording this in my home and live. Got the four of us together to do this, and I almost texted you. I was like, my house is very lived in. It is not, and I was like,
No.
But I had to walk through the process of being like, they're your friends, they are moms, they are business owners. They don't care. But the story I was telling myself was like, if everything's not perfect and I don't have the board done and Anina doesn't like the soup and I'm a failure. But it's the pressure that I think we put on ourselves as either women or moms to be this idea. And I think, Alicia, you're right. Like we see people putting that stuff on social and we think if we are not that, then we're not good enough.
And also, didn't we not all walk into your house and say, your house is gorgeous, your food is delicious, everything's perfect. Right? Like you see things differently than your counterparts see things. Your house looks gorgeous, right? So yeah, but we were hard on ourselves, whatever it is. And we don't need to be because
it's life.
It's enough.
I actually love our conference calls every week.
There's
They're
always
one
a
of my
kid.
favorite things in the world because we're doing business, we're getting shit done, but one of us is always in transition, like either in the middle of a drop off, one of us is in the car, the other one's getting ready, the other one is holding a kid. Like it's
Getting
the
their
most,
hair done.
I was actually at the hairdresser with the conference calling out to unmute every time they brought the hairdryer out. But yeah, I love that our business fits into our lives and that we don't have to pretend to be someone to show up for a conference call with a whole bunch of other colleagues. We can be where we are and still do business. And I think that's one of the most liberating things.
I love that. Well said. This is also back to Alicia. You're up again. There's a difference between networking and actually building a community where people feel seen. In your experience, what makes a space feel safe and empowering for women?
Authenticity.
It goes back to what we were all just saying too,
Right.
just being real.
Just be real. I don't like walking into a situation where I feel like somebody's always wanting something, whether that is a connection to my husband, whether that is an investment, whether that is, well, what do your kids do? Who are they hanging out with? Like, just, I don't.
Sorry if you could see my face. I'm like,
I know.
do
it's
people
just-
do that?
Yeah.
That
Like,
sounds so icky.
Yeah. And it's,
I was laughing. I'm sorry. When you said connection to my husband, I like went into this like, who's asking for, and you may need a business connection, right? But like, I automatically go into that. Like we talk about that tarp and shovel. I will tarp and shovel for you.
got it.
Like who's asking for wrong context. Please continue.
but it's just be authentic and don't try to, I don't know, stop looking for the angle. I don't want the angle. I want to have genuine connections with people. And I think that's one of my sole purposes. I love being able to put pieces together, right? So if I have a good relationship with you, I'm naturally going to connect you with whoever you need.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask for it.
And I think I want to touch on this because that's such a powerful point that I think there are two types of women, right? The types of women that realize there's enough for everybody. Like you getting something, Alicia, doesn't mean it's taking away from me. Lindsay, you doing something doesn't mean it's taking away from Anina. Like, and I think that's what we're really doing here, right? It's like we're all different. We all have come from these different backgrounds and different strengths, but you're so right. Like there are the women that just want to get ahead or the women that just look for the angle. And then there are the women that are like, nope, let me do what I can to help you because we all win.
Yeah.
When women win, we all win.
Yeah. And we're powerful. Women are so powerful.
Whole nother podcast there. That's a soapbox thing for me. Part two. Lindsay, you have helped shape this vision for Next Chapter. What's something you witnessed at our events that made you think, this is exactly why we created it?
The response from everyone saying, basically, when's your next one? This was so needed. And for me, it was important that for us, but for me, I keep stressing, right? It's not just about entrepreneurship. It's not just about motherhood. It's not just about health and wellness. It's whatever you need or whatever you're looking to do in the next chapter, because we're all different. We've accomplished big things, small things. It could be as small as I just need help getting to the next point of this small thing in my life, right? Or it could be as big as I want to leave a major corporate career and I want to do this. So I think trying to create space for people who want to just achieve anything, we're there to guide them. A lot of these sort of groups that I've come across are very focused on you have to become an entrepreneur. And not everybody wants to be that.
Mm-mm.
It's hard. Not everyone wants to be a mother. That's hard too, right? So just creating space for people to be whoever they want to be, back to the authenticity. I just keep pushing this forward because I've been there too. You know, I was fine doing what I was doing, but I just knew I could achieve more. And by surrounding myself with people like this group here, with the people we have lunch with, I'm constantly like, I cannot wait to get back to my laptop to send that email. I cannot wait to open Instagram and do a post. I can't wait to talk to my kids. Like, I'm very motivated every time I leave, and I want other people to feel that way too. I just think it's vital.
I think there's something there too about like-minded individuals. And that was something that really resonated with me in the feedback from the last lunch, is that there were women from all different industries, all different walks of life, and they were together because they're like-minded. And it removes all the competition. It removes all the posturing, because it's not like it's a commercial real estate women's group and everyone's trying to evolve and move up in the company or in the industry. It's like, no, women that want the next chapter of their life. And so that was the common denominator, which was so beautiful.
And just to add one thing that we are growing as Next Chapter is the part of this sort of power lunch division segment. We haven't fully fleshed it out, but what we realized, right, is that not to be anything about men, but like when men go to lunch, cool, fine, accepted, encouraged, right? If women go to lunch, oh, wow, you're so lucky. Wow, must be so nice, right? What a luxury. And it's
You're
like,
a lady who
you're
lunches.
a lady who lunches. And the reality is I leave lunch and I'm always just like, I can get so much more done than I could have if I hadn't gone to that lunch. I know it seems so simple, but just reinforcing like how much we can get done in a quick amount of time, and men are encouraged to do it. So why aren't women encouraged to do it too? And just to say, a lot of our guests from the first couple lunches we've had and looking into the future are repeat guests. So that tells us that this is needed and people are excited about it and they're getting value out of it, which is all we could hope for.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch on that too. I mean, our second event sold out in 5 days?
Yeah.
And then we have a 15-person wait list for the next one. And so I think that was also, at least for me, that was something that also tells us like what we're doing is needed, because, you know, Anina, like you said, it's not a running club where everyone's coming to do something. It's everybody that's coming together that's like-minded of the same, like we want the help from other women. We want to be vulnerable. We want to be able to have a community of people that support women, that support us exactly as we are and how we show up without the mask at any given time.
Or maybe we're looking for our next venture, right? Maybe there's somebody who's in the audience that is like, ooh, she seems interesting. Let's figure out, let's invest. Like, let's do something, right? There's women from all different industries. Like we said, it's really, really powerful.
Women are, I mean, again, we
JP
could go on and on and on about this. Yeah, I know. I'm like, Anina, coming from a hospitality background, you know the details that matter when creating an experience. I mean, we're even having this next one at Sebastian's restaurant. How does the setting of these lunches elevate the impact of conversations that are happening in the room?
It's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. I think the environment in which you have the conversation is as important as the conversation itself sometimes. And I'm going to give an example about wine, of course. When you taste a beautiful wine and you're on vacation and you're at the vineyard and you're overlooking the vines and the sun is setting and you're relaxed, this wine tastes like the best wine in the world. You buy that bottle, you take it home, you open it up a couple weeks later, it's on a busy night, the kids are running around, it does not taste the same at all. And I think that that is such a key part, and I'm so glad that we're aligned on that the hospitality of these events is crucial. The way people feel, the way we want people to feel special when they walk in the door. And it's all those little attentive touches, anticipating how people are going to feel, and giving them space as well to let their day be left at the door. I love that you did the openers where you check in with everyone. I think that's really important. And in hospitality, we call that the arrival experience. And hotels are famous for having codified really all the elements of an incredible experience, whether it be a spa or a restaurant. Maybe we should do these at a spa too. But the lunch is very important. Eat well, have great conversation. Conversation flows when you're eating well and you feel comfortable.
Lindsay, if you could go back and give advice to yourself at a moment in transition, what would you say?
Is it just so cliche to say like, it's going to be okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I say that to anybody, whether you're going through a divorce, a breakup. I mean, we don't know how, but we know it's going to be okay. And that's as simple as that, right? Like you can question everything. You can, am I doing the right thing? Should I do this? Should I do that? We don't know, but we just know it's going to be okay because we know ourselves. And back to what we said before, we got you, you know? I mean, Hillary, you and I have been friends for pushing 15 years now. We've seen each other through everything and it's okay. Look, everything's fine.
We survived.
It wasn't always great, but it's all been okay. So, I mean, I know that sounds too simple and there has to be a lot of elements in place, but the reality is like, just do it because it is going to be okay. It may not be exactly the way you thought it was going to be, but that's okay.
And it goes back even to your first answer when you said like, just do it just one step at a time, right? Like just take that next step because you never know how it's going to end up. You could wake up one morning, like you could get hit by a bus or you could win the lottery, not literally, but I mean, you just don't know. Right. And by putting those steps into place and taking that action, I think often we think it's going to work out negatively or, oh, it's not going to work out. Right. But like, what if it does?
I mean, I barely have a degree, right? Like I went to a big university. I hated it. I dropped out for a semester. I like barely got through, was very miserable in college. And I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have a ton of followers. I don't have a lot of money, like all those things. I'm just like very average. And I just feel like you have to go.
I'm sorry. Everyone's shaking their head at Lindsay. Like, what are you talking about?
Aren't you ranked in tennis as well? Like you've kind of.
I just mean it in the most like motivational way possible, right? Like my parents didn't have a lot of money. We just were like very normal. And that's enough to like get you to whatever your sort of passion in life is. And thank you for the tennis.
Yes, you haven't mentioned the tennis. You're like nationally ranked in tennis.
I love tennis. That's what I guess that would go part of it, right? The tennis, the sort of way you feel about the things you do in your life. Do you love it? And if you love it, that's going to be enough to like really get you to that next level. So
next chapter.
Thank you for gasping when I said I'm normal, but
I know. I mean, it's so funny how we view ourselves versus how somebody else does. Because Lindsay, I watch you and just with grace and the way that you are with your children and the way you've built the Napkin Network and just the way you run us. I mean, the way you stay on us about getting stuff done. I mean, I think you're an exceptional woman. And so I know to hear you, like when you're like, I'm average, I'm like, what? You're
the farthest.
The farthest. Yeah.
Thanks,
and
guys.
so.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm still a little like, wait, what?
I know. Almost offended that she said that.
I know.
Almost offended that you called yourself average.
See,
Totally.
you need friends to remind you too that you're fabulous and you're accomplished and you can do it all. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying you don't have to have all of these like incredible resources to get started. You can just kind of figure it out as you go, as long as you're really passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like just the drive, the idea, and just the vision, right? I mean, that's like with the Napkin Network and with here, like we had no idea too, coming back to Next Chapter, we had no idea if the lunch would even sell tickets, let alone the second one sold out. Like we had no idea.
The first one sold out too.
The first one sold out too, yes. But I mean, we had no idea, right? We took that leap of faith that, okay, if this was really helpful to us, then there would be maybe a handful of other women. And what we've learned is that by taking that next step, moving into our next chapter, it has really, I would venture to say, impacted a lot of women so far, and continues to do that, as we grow this moving forward.
Absolutely.
Anina, for the woman who feels stuck in the in-between, not where she was, not where she's going, but kind of that in-between. What's one mindset shift that helped you navigate that space?
So I'm going to quote a book that was very instrumental in my getting from point A to point B. Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. And she wrote a book about embracing your creativity and getting past fear to embrace your creativity. And she said, treat your creativity like a lover. Lovers can find 5 minutes in a stairwell, whereas a married couple will be like, okay, are the kids down? Have I eaten enough? Have I not eaten too much? Is the temperature all right? Have I emptied the dishwasher? Like you make all these blockages for why you can't reconnect, find each other. But a lover, you will meet in a stairwell for 5 minutes. And she said, treat your creativity like a lover. And that for me was instrumental. And so my creativity was expressed through Le Chef's Wife. And so I would work on Le Chef's Wife for 5 minutes, even if I knew that I was only going to have 5 minutes, and just really treated my creativity like a lover.
Done.
I've been
Not
with my husband for
perfect.
20 years.
And treat creativity like a lover. I have
She's
never
so
heard
good.
that.
It was really, I was so happy. And it's my friend Ashley who recommended the book to me at the best time as I was pushing my baby stroller up the hills of Arlington and listening to the audio recording. Elizabeth Gilbert's words will have changed my life. She wrote Eat, Pray, Love, by the way.
Yes, I
Yes.
read that when that came out. I remember.
So change can happen 5 minutes at a time. And if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're in the middle of something, but you're not there yet, do not despair. Le Chef's Wife took me 5 years, but it's now a leading resource in French cooking around the world. You Google French baguette recipe, you find Le Chef's Wife. You Google how to eat caviar, you find Le Chef's Wife. That was built in 5-minute increments before my kids got up diligently over 5 years while having kids, a career, everything else. So keep at it.
Thank you. Alicia, if a woman listening right now is afraid to step into her next chapter, what's one action she can take today to start moving forward?
Write it down. What are you curious about?
No.
What are you considering doing? Write it down. Write it down and then tell somebody, because you need outside wisdom to just make you feel okay about moving forward. If you keep it in your head, you will second guess it all the time. You'll never do it. Write it down and tell a friend.
I feel like that was evidenced by when Lindsay said, I'm just normal or I'm just average. We're all like, what? So you speak it out. And then other friends will either say, that is just not true. Or how can I help you? Or what can I do?
Yeah.
I love that advice. Write it down. And that uses 2 parts of a brain. But I've heard when you write it down, it's one part. And when you speak it into existence, it's like another one.
I'm a big fan of manifestation. I always say it out loud. Say it out loud.
It's like you said earlier too, you never know who's listening. Like, because I'm a fundraiser basically, and I just talk about it all the time, almost ad nauseum, or I'm annoyed with myself. But you have to promote yourself. You have to talk about it. You don't know who's listening. And I know you have a thing too where you say like, but also be quiet about it while you're building it. But before you get to that phase, right? Say it out loud. Yeah, because you don't know who can help you, who can donate to you, who can fund you, who can do whatever. Say it out loud. Yeah.
I love that too.
Can I touch on vision boards?
Please.
So I think vision boards are the most powerful thing in the world. And I have always done a vision board, and I have kept my vision boards year after year. And I just accumulate magazines throughout the year. And then I take time over the Christmas holidays to cut out the photos that speak to me at that moment from the magazines that I've amassed over the year. And those photos have come into fruition more times than I can count. The fact that I would cut out a photo of an older girl and a younger boy with blonde hair before I even had kids, when I was trying to conceive kids. I mean, I think it's just incredible. Or the reality of what life is today has been on a vision board for years. So it's really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, and people say, you know, I think all of us are pretty into believe in the manifestation, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so quote woo woo, right? But there's neuroscience behind it. Like when you see it every day and when you start planning that vision in your mind and you can feel it, like you don't know how you're going to get there, but once that dream is kind of dropped in or that idea is dropped in, the unknown, I think, is the scary part.
The RAS takes over.
Yes,
it's the reticular activating system.
Yeah.
It's an actual part of your brain.
I started to explain that to my 7-year-old. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, the negative things, if you say negative things, you're going to start seeing evidence to that. Your brain is going to look for the evidence to support that thought or that what you're saying. And so speak kindly to yourself. He's like, okay. I'm like, okay, maybe by the time you're 10, you'll get it. But like, we're going to keep working on this, keep drilling it in. All right. One last question. This is to everybody. Alicia, I'm going to start with you. And we talk a lot about stepping into our power, but what does that actually mean to you?
Stop looking for other people's approval. Right? Because there's always going to be somebody out there who's not going to support you. It's probably somebody that is closest to you. So I think stepping into your power is just being solely confident that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I do not care if you don't support it. I'm going to do it. So really, I think it's just having that confidence in yourself. And I mean, it's taken me 37 years to get to this point, because even up to the last couple of years, I had always tried to play off certain things because I just don't want to make other people uncomfortable. But now I'm like, just be uncomfortable and maybe ask yourself why.
Yeah. But the whole, the Mel Robbins book that just came out, let them.
Yeah.
Let them feel that way.
Yeah.
Let them be that way. Let them not invite you. Let them. That's their stuff.
Yes.
Like, right? And we start giving ourselves away to please other people. It just feels we're diminishing our, our light and diminishing our needs for someone else. So I love that.
For me, it is fully embracing that I can be the mom I want to be, the wife I want to be, the career woman I want to be, the boss I want to be, the friend I want to be. Not allowing myself to be limited to be one or the other, be a great boss or be a great wife. They can all coincide and be a great mom. And I can do all those things not seamlessly and not easy, but juggling them all at the same time, as opposed to allocating buckets of time for the different areas of your life. I feel that's incredibly liberating. And so just not allowing for limitations on what I want to do.
And you guys get a lot done in a day. I'm very impressed. I think back to your original question was, how do you feel powerful?
How do you, we talk a lot about stepping into your power, but what does it mean to you?
Right. I think knowing how to handle what are your priorities, right? So for me, I sort of walked away from a major career path, I guess you could say, quote unquote, because I had 3 little kids and we all juggle different ages and different times in our life. But my youngest is 3 and that's the youngest, right? So for me, being there at that time means 2 days a week, he's my priority, and I don't work and I don't do other things and I don't play tennis and whatever the thing is, that's my priority, is to be home for the kids. I'm always done by 2:30 because school pickups at 3. You may miss like the board meeting sometimes, but you're not going to miss the playoffs at soccer or whatever the thing is, right? You have to kind of value where you spend your time, and we're getting a little more manageable in that. I'm in a million directions all the time, but I know the priorities and I know the things I can miss and things I can't miss, and having hold over that in my schedule, my priorities, makes me feel very powerful and like I'm a good person, wife, mom, business person for my friends and my family. And it's hard, but I guess you would say you won't miss like the board meeting. You may miss the championship, but like you'll be there for the things that are very important. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. When I met my partner, Greg, he's like, you really build your schedule around Alexander.
Because he's your priority. Yeah.
He's my priority, right? And I could be more financially, could make more money. I could take on more clients. I could do fill in the blank. But while he's this age, I love that. I'd forgotten about that until you just said that. Like, that was my priority, was to be able to pick him up from school. And when he is here, Anina, I missed your birthday because he has 2 homes. You know what I mean? But we make those choices and you're important. I'm not saying you're not important, but that was my weekend.
Not as important as Alexander.
Alexander.
No, never.
Okay, ladies, any last minute thoughts? This was fantastic.
I have one.
And yes.
One thing that we didn't touch on that I think is actually a really key piece when we're talking about our story at the very beginning. You touched on the lunch that Alicia and I had together. Yeah. If that lunch had been between you and I'm not sure that idea would have gone any further than the lunch.
Facts.
Absolute facts. Because it's about finding the person that is going to complement you and do the things that you won't necessarily do. I came up with the idea, but if it had not been Alicia across the table saying, bitch, here's the business plan within 2 days.
100%.
It would have still sat there as like this.
We'd still be talking really about it. We would have had lunch again and still be talking.
Be like, we should do that. That would be really cool.
That's amazing.
She came back with the business plan 2 days later, and she had formed the LLC and got us all on board. And it was happening. This shit was happening. And I was like, okay. And I had to step up, because she was holding me accountable.
You're pointing to Alicia. So you're right. I mean, like, for people that are listening, like, Alicia, you're right. Like, I mean, you even made the joke. You're like, we were talking about looking at a beach house, my husband and I, and the next week I bought one. Or like looked at one. I mean, you are like the get shit done girl.
So you need to know who in your life will be the person that will take it across the finish line, who you're going to throw the ball to, and who's going to take it across the finish line, and what your role is in that as well, and fully embrace that.
Right. So you can envision the boat. I can build the boat. You can steer the boat, and you two can promote the boat. Right. Like, that is how
she will motivation. Keep us in check. No, Hillary will keep us in check, making sure that we actually can work together to get that boat to safety.
Yep.
I think that that's incredibly powerful.
That's a really valid point too. Like I joke and say like I have a board of directors, right? Every single woman is different, right?
Yes.
And so you know who you can go to when, you know, you need comfort or you need to laugh or when you want someone that's good, that, you know,
If you need comfort, you go to Hillary. If you need somebody to tell you to shut the fuck up and just do it,
Get
come
over
to
yourself.
me.
Yeah, I mean, but you're right. Like it is it's so true. But so Anina, thank you for bringing that up because that's such a great point. And I had not thought about that, but we would not be sitting here right now. We would not be getting ready for our second sold out luncheon and preparing for the rest of the year. It was not for Alicia that came to us with like, cool, you have the plan. I've got it. Like, or you've got an idea. I've got the plan. Let's do it. Like, oh, yes.
Love it.
Well
Alicia.
done, ladies. Thank you all for being here.
was fun.
This was
Thank
so
you.
much
So much
fun.
fun.
Our
So much
lunch
fun.
beforehand.
Okay, it's
and then this
12:50. You
live-
have to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aww.